All right, looks like we're rolling. We're live. How you doing,
Cool.
Matt?
Good.
Good. Thanks for taking a moment to just chat and really just take some time to celebrate your progress, your success, and the things that over the time that you and I have gotten to work together. You've accomplished a lot, and it's really exciting. So I appreciate you just meeting with me and taking the time to just talk about it a little bit in your journey. So
Yeah, man.
Can you tell me a little bit, just briefly about yourself and what life was like for you before we started training together back in January?
Yeah, it's prior to January, I've kind of had a long road. I mean, 15 years in the military. I did 2 tours in Iraq, one in '04, and then again in 2010. Um, was subsequently injured on deployment. I had a traumatic brain injury. I tore both of my Achilles tendons. Dealt with a pretty raging case of PTSD. Um, Got home, went through a divorce. Really was kind of at the end of my rope. Even battled with suicidal ideation and things like that. Um, and through treatment, uh, they put you on a lot of medications, and a lot of those medications come with a side effect of weight gain. Um, Unlike a lot of the guys that come home and turn to say drugs or alcohol to self-medicate, uh, mine became food. So I started binge eating probably not that long after I got home. So in a matter of probably 2 years, I got out in 2012. Uh, Within those probably first 2 years after I got out, I gained an easy 80 or 90 pounds. Uh, and really went through the kind of ups and downs of trying to lose it, and uh, would do the whole I'd lose 10 here, gain 15 back, I'd lose 20 here, gain 20 back. Uh, Tried all the fad diets, quick fixes, the pills, I even went so far as to uh, try actually prescribed weight loss medication. I've done the HCG diet. I've done every diet out there. I mean, there's not a diet I haven't tried.
Yeah.
And then intermittently trying to work out on my own, going to the gym. That last a few weeks, and I'd give up. And that's kind of been the pattern over, say, the last 10 years. Um, and right before I finally started working with you, I was actually in month 4 of the 6-month process for pre-op certification for weight loss surgery. So I was actually exploring that and going to do that. So when I finally decided to work with you, it was kind of like, if this doesn't work, this is it. So
Yeah.
um,
I
so
remember
yeah,
that
it's kind
moment.
of like my last hurrah to say I'm gonna try this one last thing, and then I'm going the surgical route. So
Yeah. Wow, that's huge. Thanks for sharing that. I mean, that 10-year process was. It sounded like it's a story. It's you went through it, and I'm curious to know what's something that what made you commit to this process, and because you tried many different things before, and what was different about this when you and I sat down in January that you decided I'm, despite everything else that didn't work, I'm committing to starting this.
I think it's a couple things. I've learned so much about the importance of accountability, um, and the piece that was missing throughout all those other attempts was I didn't have anybody to answer to but me. And when you're in a weak moment, you're it doesn't matter how much you want to try. If you're not strong enough to keep yourself accountable, then you're just going to continue to fall over and over, right? And then it's a cycle. So it's the failure, and then so here, it's the accountability of having to answer to you a few days a week.
Yeah.
Of somebody not letting you take the easy road out. I mean, if I was at Planet Fitness by myself on one of the machines or whatever, as soon as it got hard, there's nobody there to tell me to keep going. I could be like, I did enough, so that's a huge piece of it. And then honestly, it is a little bit of a financial commitment. Of course, anything is, so I mean, for me, it's one of those things, if I'm going to pay for it, and I'm going to pay for it whether I'm going to use it or not, I'm going to use it. So,
Right.
I mean, it's really,
Yeah.
That's just a different level of accountability for myself, and that's a motivator for me. It may not be for everybody, but yeah. So I mean, yeah, I think the accountability piece is huge, and the having somebody like you who knows how to motivate people differently and kind of digs into a little bit more of like what motivates you, not just because some people, you would think, coming from a military background, that I would be more motivated by the yelling and screaming like a drill sergeant, but I'm not. I mean, that. I mean, I need more. No, and then I need more, encouragement. Some people really, really, do well with that kind of, I don't know what you would call it, negative reinforcement, whatever you want to call it, but I mean, everybody is motivated by different things, and I appreciate the fact that you kind of seek out what that motivating factor is for somebody, and then use that. Because I've even seen you, like, while warming up, while you're working with other clients, you may treat them a little differently than you treat me as far as the way you motivate. So,
Yeah.
the parent,
Yeah, I scream at everyone else. No, I'm kidding. But no,
you just don't want to carry on tissues to wipe my tears,
Right. So no, I appreciate you sharing that, because I'm proud of you, and the progress that you've made, and the results that you've had through this. And you come in and you work, like, there's no quick fix to this thing. If you want to change your life and your mind and your results, I mean, you got to work for it. And so I love working with people like you who are able to, say, I'm in this, and I'm, and you're seeing the results of that. And it's been great to have that accountability piece in there throughout, and we weave that through many conversations. But can you talk about what, even that, and some of the other things that we've done together, that you've experienced working with me, as Freedom Fitness and Wellness, that we've done together that's helped you make a change?
Yeah, I think big thing you hit was the consistency, and there is no quick fix thing. I think that's a huge point, because I think between media and advertisements and all these things that are out there that continually try to sell you on the kind of immediate gratification society that we are, that hey, you don't have to do it the hard way, here's the easy route, and there is no easy route like that. That's just, I mean, I think learning to take all those excuses that I told myself for 10 years. Oh, it's genetics. Oh, when my dad turned this age, he started gaining weight, and he started, it just runs in my family. I don't have the ability to be a fit person genetically. All those lies that you kind of convince yourself,
Right.
because you don't want to take your own accountability for, no, I don't need to run through the drive-through 7 days a week in addition to, trying to eat normal, or I don't need, it's those type of things. And I think the accountability piece led to the consistency, and consistency is the key in the whole thing. I really thought it was interesting, because I'd never had anybody go the route from functional first to and easing into, and then seeing how all those things connected as we changed and modified things. So, like, some of the things that you made me do in the beginning that I'm like, this is the dumbest stuff ever.
Yeah.
This looks like something like from the 80s on a workout video, but.
So can you talk more about that? What are some of the things that some of the results that, because I mean, it's been around that 12-week mark now. What are the results that you've seen now?
I know that when we first started, I couldn't walk up and down the stairs of my house without my knees just killing me and being short of breath. I mean, there was no. I'm a nurse. I work and do like emergency response stuff. Just responding to emergency, the adrenaline alone would knock the wind out of me so bad that I was down for the count after dealing with somebody. I could get through it, but that would take me down for days sometimes of feeling horrible. Most of the time before we started, most of the time there was a guarantee that I was going to take a 2 or 3 hour nap during the day. Always felt sluggish. I mean, I've taken maybe one nap in the last 8 weeks, and that,
Wow.
and that was a well needed one, but I mean, I have much more energy, than it kind of surprises me sometimes. I mean, you would think even with like being kind of homebound right now with all this stuff going on that you'd be more prone to like even sleep out of boredom. A lot of times I'm more frustrated because I've got energy and I don't know what to do with it. So
That's huge. That's a big deal.
that's way huge.
Don't hear that very often.
There is little things like that most people don't think about, like tying my shoes. It was uncomfortable to like reach down and put shoes on. Like I was that heavy and that out of shape that I would literally get out of breath tying my shoes. And that in itself perpetuates a cycle of depression. I mean, like, because you feel horrible physically and then you feel ashamed of yourself because you can't,
Yeah.
So I mean, that perpetuates a cycle too. So I mean, that I went from that to, I think I told you, my 14-year-old, I was out there hitting a volleyball with her in the backyard for 30, 45 minutes. I would have never done that before because I wouldn't have been able to handle it. And coming from a guy that was, I wasn't like the most elite of the elite in the military, but I mean, I was kicking indoors and shooting and getting shot at and all that. I was, working out 3 hours a day, probably not the right way, but lifting a lot of weights with all the other guys, and to go from that to being out of breath tying your shoes is a huge hit to the human ego. I mean, it's just,
I can only imagine.
how can you even look at yourself with any type of pride at that point? So it's those type of things are more impactful to me. I think just looking in the mirror and seeing changes. I've lost 32 pounds in 12 weeks, and that was with a week of being down with the flu and beginning of flu season. And I still got a long way to go. I mean, there's still a lot left to do, but just having that 30 pounds off of me, and probably more because gaining muscle at the same time,
Right.
It makes you feel just completely different. I mean, I definitely feel different. Clothes fit different. I've had to throw away clothes recently or donate clothes recently because they just don't fit. And I honestly, truly, 12 weeks ago would have not believed that I would be doing that, because even 12 weeks ago, the lie was that I would tell myself is like, this isn't going to last. You're going to give up just like you did before. So yeah, so that's just a few things, but yeah, I mean, every day there's something else. I'll do something and be like, I couldn't really do that before, or I couldn't, or that felt a lot worse when I did that before.
That's cool to see, and I love getting to meet with you every week because I'm like, okay, what's new this week? Like, what did he accomplish this week? That even the week one, like when we just worked on some different mobility things. I remember you said your arms would go numb just sitting at the desk at work.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, and that stopped it after that first week, and it's pretty important to use your arms at work, I would imagine.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and even trying to help my wife through her journey, she's doing some walking and stuff like that. She used to ask me to go for walks all the time, and I'd be like, no, I'm not doing that. And now, I'll work out with you in the morning, and then I'll go walk with her for 3.5, 4 miles in the afternoon, in addition to what I'm doing for myself, just to, be a support for her. And that doesn't even phase me anymore. Like before, I wouldn't do it because walking for 20 minutes would have killed me. My knees would have been killing me, my ankles would have been killing me. I couldn't breathe. It just, yeah. So that's huge in itself.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, I think. What's that?
So that's a big deal. I mean, even
It,
you're able to be
yeah.
an inspiration now.
I mean, and doing things for doing physical things for because I like it, like road bike, like I go do that for fun, not for the workout. Like those are the things that I can actually look at myself a little bit like an athlete now before I couldn't do that at all, or wouldn't
Awesome.
even think that was I was capable.
What are some things that, and just kind of wrapping up the last couple of minutes here, I just wanted to ask you, what are some things that you've experienced that kind of came out of nowhere? You didn't even realize that it was going to be something that um, was going to be a result for you.
Usually people I think associate exercise and working out with um, being painful, and it is, but it's not the it's not the pain that you feel before you start. So it's like I never expected to have pain decrease because I'm working out. So
Yeah, yeah,
like the knees and the ankles and all the joints and just the general um uh it like I used to struggle with migraines like 5 to 7 days a week. And I maybe have had one in the last 2 months. I mean,
wow,
eh, and I can
wow,
attribute that to a couple things, but I think a lot of it is just being healthy and active. I mean, when you're, taking naps and you got sleep apnea issues and you sleeping on the couch with no machine and sucking wind and yeah, you're going to get headaches. I mean, when you're eating a bunch of garbage all day every day, you're going to get headaches. I mean, that stuff is
yeah,
no good. And now that was the other surprising thing. My diet has not been perfect there. I think the biggest myth is that you just have to eat a bunch of junk you don't like. And I hear people say that on things sometimes, and I'm like, yeah, whatever.
yeah,
But truly, like, I probably could have lost more in these last 12 weeks, but I didn't like deny myself. If I wanted pizza, I had pizza. If I
right,
wanted Burger King, I had Burger King. I regret that choice fully,
yeah,
but
yeah.
but and that was surprising to me.
Fit in the
After you get
parameters
off of
too.
that kind of food, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I stick in the parameters. The whole kind of if it fits in your macros thing,
yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
But that was surprising to me to like not have had fast food for say 6-8 weeks, and in just 6-8 weeks time to go back and eat fast food. I was sick as a dog, and it's like I ate this every day.
wow,
like
yeah,
like that was my go-to, like the comfort food. and
right,
and, and now it's like if I eat it, I mean, I got to be real careful if I try to eat that stuff,
yeah,
because I mean, and
not
I thought I
comforting
picked
anymore.
a better choice and it was horrible. So yeah,
Yeah.
so that was surprising to me.
That's awesome. I mean, you've come a long way. You've made huge progress in this last 12 weeks. What do you think? And we'll just kind of end here as what do you think was different for you working with me, and how would you encourage someone else that's on the fence and they're just thinking, I don't know if it's going to work this time? What would you say to that person?
I, I would probably say if you've tried it on your own over and over and over again and it's not working, then stop trying to do it on your own. Like that's really that's the biggest takeaway that I've gotten so far is at that point, and even at this point. I mean, I'm getting there, but I'm not ready for you to cut me loose and say, all right, well, you know what to do, because I still need the motivation and the accountability. And somebody who's kind of maybe at their lower or lowest point where they're like, well, it's just always going to be this way. It really doesn't have to be.
Wow. Yeah.
And you have to. The biggest step is just making the commitment, and that's it. And once you make the commitment, if you have any type of, integrity about you, you're not going to like back out on a commitment. So,
Right.
just take, I would say, I think the biggest thing was I did like the 3 sessions with you before we talked about long term.
Yeah.
And, and I was able to see in just 3 sessions enough improvement to kind of go, all right, I probably should do this on the regular,
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
and that it wasn't going to kill me. I think those 3 sessions really was there was a lot of fear behind that first session, I think a lot of people have that gym intimidation, and you know the there's a lot of scary things out there, and sometimes you can't get it all off of YouTube. And there's stuff that you come up with that I ask you, I'm like, where did you find this? Because this is
Yeah.
horrible, but effective,
That's
you
pretty
know. So yeah, I mean, there's stuff that you're not going to be able to figure out yourself, and there's stuff that you can, like a lot of the things, like I would say, I'm having trouble XYZ or this movement, or I can't, and it's good to have somebody that knows why and why that's happening, and what can we do to try to strengthen that. And there's been many times that I've gotten really frustrated and mad because there was something that you were trying to get me to do that I could not do, like functionally could not do, and within a couple of weeks I could do it.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome. I think that explains your journey too, and in a lot of ways and when I think back to that very first time that we met, to where you're at now and to where you're gonna be. I mean, you've set long-term goals, and I just want to say I'm so proud of you. I truly enjoy working with you. We have a lot of fun, in the process doing it, and you've come a long way. I love getting to see what you post on Facebook and your changes, and everyone else get to celebrate you and your progress. And so, thanks for taking some time out of your day to just chat a little bit about your journey and the results that you've made, and it's huge. So, thank you so much.
absolutely, man.
All right, brother.